Hi, my name is Leontine Cohen-Pauka, and I'm a tour guide in Israel. And during this strange period of Corona, COVID-19, I decided to start a series of small lectures that I call In the Footsteps of. And I'm starting today with In the Footsteps of Stephen. Here we go. Stephen lived in the 1st century and he is the first Christian martyr. Martyr means witness. After Jesus had died, resurrected, and went to heaven, there was a big crisis among the followers of Jesus who were all Jewish, like Jesus. His followers believed he was the Messiah, which means the anointed one. It was difficult to live with the idea of a dying Messiah, and his announced return after his ascension did not happen. So many left the movement, but some remained in search of explanations. The 12 apostles, who 10 days after the ascension of Jesus received the Holy Spirit in the room of the Last Supper, were working hard to continue to spread the teachings of Jesus. They became missionaries. They lived together as a community. Now, some of the widows they took care of were neglected because they were too busy being missionaries, and the apostles probably did not even have time to take care of their own everyday things, like cooking, washing, cleaning. So the apostles ordained 7 deacons to take care of these widows and of their own little business. A deacon means the one who serves. The oldest of the 7 deacons was called Stephen. He received the title Archdeacon, which means the chief among deacons. He was Jewish, like the 12 apostles and the 6 other deacons. According to the book of Acts, Stephen did wonders and signs among the people and became extremely popular. This was considered so annoying by the Jewish religious leaders that he was accused of blasphemy. Blasphemy means speaking offensively about God or sacred things, or speaking against God and Moses. And he was put on trial by the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin, at that time, was the Jewish court system. It was a religious assembly of 71 sages who met in a room in the temple. According to the book of Acts in the New Testament, several people came and produced false testimonies. An interesting detail is that one of the 10 commandments says, "You shall not produce false testimony." Stephen was charged of blasphemy. He responded by detailing the history of Israel and even admonished the Sanhedrin, calling them stubborn. When he finished speaking, he had a vision of Jesus standing next to God. This was the proof for the Sanhedrin that Stephen was indeed guilty of blasphemy, as Jews, until today, did not believe Jesus was the Messiah or Son of God. The crowd that had witnessed the trial dragged Stephen out of the city gate and stoned him to death. The stoning took place outside the city, as executions were never to be conducted inside a city in that period. There are 2 possible locations for the stoning. A Byzantine tradition of the 5th century tells us it took place outside Damascus Gate, and a Crusader tradition of the 12th century tells us it took place in the Kidron Valley outside the Lion's Gate. Both gates received the name of Stephanus Gate in those 2 periods. He was buried, but we don't know where. Today we have 2 churches of Saint Stephen outside the old city of Jerusalem, a Catholic church, Saint Etienne, outside Damascus Gate, and a Greek Orthodox church outside Lion's Gate. Now there is another tradition related to the tomb of Saint Stephen and Saint Paul. South of Beit Shemesh, Beit Shemesh is southwest of Jerusalem, is located the monastery of Beit Jamal. The name Jamal comes from the name Gamaliel the Elder. Gamaliel was a rabbi and the president of the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. He was more tolerant than his colleagues towards the followers of Jesus. He was also the teacher of Saul, now known to us as Saint Paul. So Paul, who originally was called Saul, was a Jew who, like many others in the time of Stephen, persecuted those Jews who had become followers of Jesus. Saul was in that time still on the side of the Jews, and he witnessed the trial and stoning of Stephen. During the trial and the stoning, he even carried the coats of the men who produced the fake testimonies. It is only later that he switched sides and became a follower of the teachings of Jesus, and then we know him under the name Paul, Saint Paul. So here we have the link between Stephen and Beit Shammai, because in the 5th century a priest had a dream where Gamaliel appeared to him and showed him the remains of the tombs of Stephen and Gamaliel. Their remains were brought to Jerusalem, and a church was built on the location of the now empty tombs. It is believed that this was originally the house of Gamaliel, and that Gamaliel allowed friends of Stephen to have him buried in the garden of his house. Today, there is a Catholic monastery built over the remains of a Byzantine church and over the tombs. 2 interesting details to know. The first 7 deacons were ordained by the apostles, and they were ordained in this way. The apostles held their hands above the heads of the deacons. The hand is the symbol of the Holy Spirit that the apostle had received earlier. Until today, this is how a deacon in the church is ordained. And another interesting detail. Today, Saint Stephen is the patron saint of many. He is the patron saint of the altar service, of the bricklayers, of the casket makers, of the stone masons, and of course also of the deacons. Now, I hope you enjoyed this little talk. There is a small movie just behind that will show you in a very amateuristic way. I'm sorry, but I do what I can. It shows you some pictures of the places that I've talked about. If you want, and only if you want, you can send me a little tip. Go on PayPal and type Leontine in Israel. Leontine in Israel @gmail.com. And my name is written in such a way that I will not spell it for you, but I will show you a picture of it at the end of the little slideshow. Bye bye.